Hey, so here's a unique way to do Amazon product research so you can find less saturated products. Hopefully this video is going to be helpful for you. We're going to use brand analytics, which is like a cool tool by Amazon itself for product research. And also we will use Helium 10. And in the description, we're going to have a link that helps you create a free Helium 10 account. And you have discounts for Helium 10 as well. This is a link that's going to be from Adriana. Adriana is our guest today, and she's a seller on Amazon. She's also with Helium 10 and their Serious Sellers podcast in the Spanish language. And Adriana has been a guest on our channel also a few times. And it's good to have you here, Adriana. Can you introduce yourself? And then we'll start showing this unique, I guess, way to look at product research.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Boba. First, need to share this with the audience that you are the one that got me. I feel like eventually, to this place. I feel like I remember I guess I met you about 3 years ago, and I was struggling. Yeah, it was like 3 years, right? And I was struggling with one of my products, and I was like, I was so frustrated. I was like ready to just like look for different business opportunities. And then I met you. You were like, no, let me take a look at your listing and, at your product and your keywords and all that. And that saved my product eventually. And then I got into, of course, I met people at Helium 10, and then I am hosting their podcast in Spanish because that's my native language. And now we're here. And so very excited. So grateful for that. And so excited to be here, a few years later.
Yeah, thank you for I'm actually happy. Yeah, that's the main thing, is that you're here and you didn't stop, and the growth you did also in your Amazon business and also generally as an entrepreneur is pretty crazy in 3 years. So I'm really happy for you, and I'm just hoping for you to continue with this. So
thank you, Boba. Yeah. Thank you. And I'm very excited about that topic that we chose for today, because we're always constantly, the way to grow is launching new products, right? You can, of course, optimize your current product and, of course, try to find, lower costs or lower prices for your product and all that. But, I guess if you want to grow, the easiest way or the fastest way is to launch new products. So I'm excited that Amazon now gives us a capability into looking at their reports, right? Like their data directly. We, of course, use other tools where we can see information on search volume and all that. But now with brand analytics, for everyone that has, for sellers that have their brand registered inside of Amazon, we have access to brand analytics and the brand analytics report, which there are a ton of reports, which is great. But I guess one of the ways Boba and I were thinking about how we could use this data is actually looking into the search terms reports and seeing the click share percentage and all that type of thing. So if you like, I can share my screen, Boba.
Yeah, let's let's explain these little interesting, I guess, how you call that, figures, or
yes,
what is click share and all that. That's interesting. Very good things to look at, of course. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, very interesting. So I guess we could start, Boba. I pulled up here my account, and we could start looking at the data directly from brand analytics that everyone, if you have your brand registered, you should have access to this. This is a search term reports. So in here, basically, you can type inside of Amazon.com or wherever else you're selling, of course, you can type the search term that you're interested in. So let's say that you have an interesting connection, or like you have a business connection with someone that sells, I guess, gardening tools. This is like a different approach, right, Boba? Because we're used to searching for products regardless of the category, regardless of what type of products they are, and then we look at the profitability, etc. But I've heard of people that they already have a connection with a factory, let's say in toys, in gardening, or in automobile, or whatever the case. So if you want to leverage that connection, then you can start by looking for keywords inside that category specifically, right? As opposed to just like looking for products in general. I guess we can put in here, let's type gardening and see what is it that we find. So in here, you can see that we can look at this data in a weekly, monthly, or quarterly fashion. In here, I'm choosing weekly, and I chose the first week of October. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that the data here for gardening in October will be very different from the data we get in spring and in summer, right? Because that's when people are doing gardening. But yeah, let's take a look. Let's see what we find. And so in here, we find, of course, several different keywords. We see gardening tools, globes, pots, planters, etc. And you'll see, if you scroll to the right, you'll see that we have information here. First of all, when it comes to data for search, of course, for this keyword, of course, the lower in this case, that means that it has the higher amount of searches. That's correct, right, Boba?
Yes, that's true. Search frequency rank, the lower it is, the more kind of searches it gets.
More demand. Okay.
More demand. Yeah.
In here, you'll see information on the number one clicked ASIN, which is very interesting, right? Because that means that they are the ones that are getting the most attention, at least the most clicks, right? It doesn't mean necessarily that they are getting the most conversions, but in here you see, for example, for this keyword, that this is the number one clicked ASIN. You see how many clicks they're getting. So they are getting 10%, almost 11% of the clicks. And from those clicks they're getting their conversion rate is 17, which is pretty good, I think, percentage wise, 17%, almost 18% of conversions from those clicks, right? And then we have number two, they're taking 10% of the clicks and 10% almost conversion, which is still kind of good. And then of course we have number three, right? So the way Boba and I, we usually analyze this information is we try to see, basically we add the both the click share for the top three ASINs, as well as the conversion rate for the top three ASINs. So in this case, we would be adding, let's say 10 or almost 11, I guess, plus 10, plus, let's say it's 7. So that's like 28 or so percent, right? That they are taking from the total amount of clicks that people are doing for gardening. Was it tools or just gardening? Tools. Yeah, gardening tools. So that's pretty, I mean, they're taking only 30% of all the clicks from this big keyword. I would suggest that it's a big keyword because it's in the top of the list. So that means that there's still 70% of the clicks, right, that are still available for other competitors to take, right? Even if you take only, 10% of the, that's there for the taking, right? And so one way to look at that is to say, like, there's still space in this niche. I can still complete with this niche because, I'm sure there are examples of other keywords. Let's see. That, that top T. Okay, so this one over here, we see running shears for gardening. Okay, I don't do gardening, so I don't know really much about
what is
about what this is. But okay, so they're taking 25%, and then they're taking 27%, which is pretty high, a pretty high conversion rate. The second one is 10%, and then we have 9% or so. So it's close to, let's say, what, like 40, well, almost, no, like 35% that they're taking. No, actually 45%, right? Public math. And so we're doing it here on that. It's interesting. Another way to look at this or to analyze this information is perhaps we can say, like, okay, they're taking 45%, but if I manage to be one of those top three products for that keyword, then I'm taking a big amount, like an interesting amount of clicks and of conversion rates. So you can look at it both ways, right? Like if you find out that the top three products, they're taking only, I guess, the sum of those clicks and the sum of those conversion shares, they're taking 30% or 35%, you're like, you know what, there's still like 70% or 65% of the clicks that I can, if I, come up with an interesting product that I can take from basically from that niche. Also, when you see a niche that they are taking, the top three, they're taking 50% or 55%, you can be like, oh, maybe they're, maybe people are choosing this product for a reason. Of course, you want to take a look at their listing and be like, let me see if this is a quality listing or if people are choosing this product merely because, there's not a ton of, I guess, other interesting offers. So they just choose it because that's what there is available, right? And so, of course, you need to analyze the listing of the top three products and not only look at the numbers, right? Because the numbers, they need context, right, for them to make sense. So that's one way of, as I said, perhaps you have a connection or someone, or maybe even a family member that owns like a gardening store or a gardening factory, who knows? And that's the way you can kind of like, I'm going to go directly and find information about gardening in this case, right? Just recently, by the way, Boba, please interrupt me if you want to, because I can, I can speak a lot. So.
No problem. I wanted to have a story that you want to tell. Please remember that. I'll also add to what you mentioned that, so here are different keywords, right? So for example, gardening tools, because I know it from experience, I'm selling like barbecue related products, right? So let's say we have a keyword that's more like grilling accessories, right? So, or barbecue tools, okay? Now that keyword can get a lot of searches, like the search frequency rank will be low, and the clicks and the conversion amongst the top three ASINs are also going to be low, maybe relatively to other keywords. Now, what does this mean? Sometimes you can also think about the keyword. So if it's like gardening tools, right? It's very broad. It can be what's there for gardening: a shovel, pruning shears, gloves. It can be a hat, right?
Yes.
And maybe in keywords, maybe like let's say gardening gloves for women, maybe because it's more still has, let's say, high search frequency rank, right?
Yes.
So we know it
More
gets
intense.
searches, but we'll see that the top ASINs are taking also the clicks and also the conversions. Now, of course, as you mentioned, we need to look at the listings. Maybe the same can happen in the gardening tools as a broad keyword sort of that has many products inside it. But usually when the product is describing the keyword is describing the product kind of at what it is. Like if it's not a gardening tool, it's like specific gardening tool and even more specific for specific audience, then maybe there we'll see that the top ASINs are getting most of the clicks and maybe most of the conversion. Not necessarily, but that's what I've seen happening. And that's not bad. That's not bad because again, if you see that the top listings are actually not really optimized and done, it's like you with your knowledge as a seller can get to that top and get these clicks, then you might be the one actually that will appear in the brand analytics one day, right? So yeah, back to your story, Adriana, you wanted to mention something about you were saying about people have like knowledge in specific industry, then you had some story about it?
Yes, and to your point, Boa, which I think is very interesting, as you said, as the keyword gets more specific, then of course, well, maybe the click, the click share will be bigger for the top 3 competitors. Even the other day, we were noticing this keyword that was taking, I guess the top 3 products, they were getting like 90-something% of the clicks and then 90-something% of the conversions, and we were like, that's weird. Like, is there a patent here that protects, I guess, the product from other sellers selling for that specific keyword? We were like, what's going on, right? So we clicked on because in here, if you clicked on the ASIN, you'll see the listing right away. And we noticed that the keyword had the name of the brand inside of the keywords, right? So it's like, okay, makes sense that when people are looking for, it was something about keto. I remember that keyword. So it had the name over there. So when people are searching for the brand specifically, then it makes a lot of sense that people are choosing the brand. They're going to go there for the brand. They're not going to go there for a different type of brand, unless the price is very attractive of the competition or, lower price or and whatnot. But they are usually the ones that take the clicks, right?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. Also, I wanted to share, Adriana, that mentioned that you can do this type of search if, let's say, you have some connection to gardening, let's say, or something like that. Maybe you know a factory. I would also add that maybe not. Maybe it just in your mind you have you're like, oh, today I'm gonna search for new products. Maybe you still don't have a brand in a specific niche, or maybe you're just looking to add products to your portfolio and you're thinking about fishing or gifts or some specific gifts, maybe actually gardening gift, or I would actually go with a bigger keyword like gardening, fishing, jumping, sitting, thinking, eyes. I don't know, might sound weird, but still Amazon will give you the most highly searched keywords, and that's actually their data, so it's pretty accurate because they're giving it to us, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, as you said, maybe you're just interested, and that's actually a great point, Boba, because let's say that you're passionate about gardening, right? Like in my case, I don't do much gardening, but if you do, then it makes sense to launch something, of course, if the numbers make sense, if the keywords make sense and all of that, to launch something you're passionate about, right? Because then you're simply more inclined to working more on your business. And if you know about gardening, if you're knowledgeable about the topic, then of course you can perhaps create a better design or a better kit or whatever the case, whatever the product that you're launching, right? As opposed to perhaps just finding a random product that you have never used in your life. And then you're like, okay, how can I make this better? It might be more of a complicated process as opposed to just choosing what you like. So a hobby that you do, right? Or a sport.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
I love it. Boba, so I guess one interesting news that we have just recently, Helium 10 shared, is that now you can find this information inside of the tools, both Cerebro, and so I'm pulling up my Cerebro account over here, and also Magnets. So when you're doing research on your competitors, right? Because that's one of the processes that Boba teaches us too, which is basically, of course, you find the keyword, you're like, okay, let me take a look at the page results, right? Yeah. And then, of course, you choose the competitors that are taking most of the sales or that are, very important in that niche, and you start to analyze, what are the keywords that they have in their backend, etc., via Cerebro. So one thing that they added to this, so I just pulled this random search. I don't even know what product this is, but one thing they added to that table where they show the information, along with, of course, the keywords, is they added precisely this, the Amazon Brand Analytics click share. So this basically shows the sum of the top 3 ASINs of the click share. You know how in here we have it like broken down, right? We see, okay, this guy, number one, he's getting 60%. The guy in number two is getting the 15%, and then the other one, right? So Cerebro basically shows the sum of those top 3 products of the click share, and they also have the sum of the top 3 products when it comes to conversion rate, which, as you know, as we shared over here, this is conversion rate. It's right besides the click share. So in here, in a way, you can see, I guess, in a summarized fashion, you can see, okay, this guy over here, they actually have, you can filter this information. As you can see, I was trying to see, okay, let me see which are the keywords that have at least 20% of, top 3 ASINs are taking the 20% of the click share as a minimum, and then as a maximum 70%, right? Because I don't want to look at keywords that are, are basically dominated, or that, the top 3 products are taking most of the sales, right? And when it comes to conversion rate, you can even, of course, change, you can play with these filters and change the information as you need. Perhaps you want to see, I just want to see those products that are perhaps doing 25% conversion rate and 30 as tops, right? Because I want to make sure that when I launch this product, that people are not only going to click on my product, but they are going to buy my product, right? So that's one way to see this data inside of Helium 10 via Cerebro, which as I guess many of you guys know, that Cerebro is one of the tools that we use the most, I would argue, when it comes to product research. This data is also available inside of Magnet, which, as you know, Magnet is a tool for keyword research, right? So let's say that instead of using brand analytics, instead of looking at this information inside of brand analytics, you're like, what, I'm interested in the gardening niche, right? And so you go directly to Magnet and you type, just as you did here in brand analytics, you'll type gardening. And so you'll see all the related keywords for gardening, right? And then, of course, you'll see this information there too. You'll see that this column for total click share and total conversion share. And of course, I would argue that the convenience of doing this inside of Helium 10 is that you don't only see that information, but you also see, how many keyword sales this keyword, how many sales this keyword is getting. You, of course, see the search volume, you see the trends, which are very useful, right? As you can see, there are some niches that, that go down during certain months, right? Like gardening would go down, of course, during the winter months, etc. You would see the CPR. You're like, okay, this guy, in order to rank for the top positions for this keyword, I would need to move 20 or sell 28 items or units a day. So I can, for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever your strategy might be, title density, etc. So it's basically, it's that information. It's now here placed inside of Cerebro and Magnet. And as I said, a little bit more convenient in a way, because you get to see the other information related, of course, for these keywords. So,
and you don't need brand
Bowen?
registry. You don't need brand registry for that, right? If you're a seller that still doesn't have brand registry, like a new seller that still hasn't found the product, right? You don't have access to brand analytics, which kind of sucks if you don't.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? Or actually, you do need to connect your own Seller Central to get this data. So then you do, or actually, it's only Seller Central. Oh, do you know maybe, Adriana?
Yeah, so I think that you do have to have your brand registered. You don't need to have a ton of or many products that you have already launched in the past. This might be your first product, but perhaps you already have your brand registered when it comes to, depending on, of course, where you're selling, right? In the US, I think you do it via the USPTO, the trademark.
Adriana, do you need, I'm not sure, yes, but to get the ABA or ABA total, Amazon Brand Analytics total conversion share and quick share inside Helium 10, do we need to have brand registry for that? Or if not, then it's cool, because that means anyone can get actually very good analytics before even registering the brand, right? Because to get brand analytics, we need to register a brand. And before that, we only have Seller Central. We don't have the registered brand. So if that is so, that's a really cool thing by Helium 10, because it gives us the data. And I think it does without brand registry for a specific user, but I might be wrong. But do you know maybe?
That's interesting. So I know that when it comes to using the tool, Helium 10, in this case, Cerebro, you do need to have your token connected, right? You know how we have our, so that has to be connected over there. And I think that you do have to have your brand registered, even if you are not selling products just yet, even if you just are new to the business, since this is brand analytics. And so in order for you to have access to these reports, I think you do have to have your brand registered. So this
Listen,
would
so I
be
think what we could do, we could check it, and I will update it in the description, in the comments, because it's a big thing. Maybe there's somebody is looking to join Helium 10 right now or something. He's like, hey, I don't have brand registry. I need these numbers. By the way, we'll leave, as I mentioned, free trial and discounts of Adriana in the description. In this way, you can support her journey and her things that she's doing. I think it's pretty cool. Also, let's check maybe with Christine or with people on the team just to make sure, because if we don't need to have brand registry,
that would be great.
Cool.
Yeah.
If we do, then
very useful.
Then it's just it's here. It still eases the process for us.
A process. Yeah.
I have a feeling that, but maybe I'm wrong, because maybe we can still get this data without being brand registered on our account, but I'm not sure. That's why we'll check, and I'll update it in the comments.
That would be amazing if we could get this information without needing to registering our brand. I guess when we have been in this game for a while, we already are like, when you know what, we registered this brand years ago. That would be a very interesting way to have access, right, to this information.
Let's ask. I'll check. I'll ask with Christine. Maybe you do have also. Maybe you can ask Bradley or someone. Maybe you have some like way to. I'll update that. Also, I'll say that I have a full tutorial of Cerebro in the description of the video. I'll leave my video there. It doesn't have this yet because it was done like a while ago, maybe
just recently.
Maybe a year ago I did my tutorial, but that was a tutorial that went through all the parts of Cerebro and show like how to find the best keywords, how to use every filter in Cerebro. It's like 47-minute video. I'll leave that down in the description. Adriana, before we finish this video, anything you would like to share with us? Generally, I'm saying, or maybe Amazon-wise.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have become a nerd in the past few years, but specifically in the past few months, looking at the data that Amazon is sharing with us, because it's like, I mean, it's coming straight from them, right? And so these guys at Brand Analytics, they share with us also information on, repeat purchase behavior, people are buying what and how many times, right? You have information about the market basket analysis, which basically shows you when they buy this product, they're also buying these other products, which is great, because if you're already selling on Amazon and perhaps you already have your brand and all that, you can find ideas on how to expand your brand line, right? Add more products, etc., complementary products, supplementary products, etc. You have information on the demographics in here. You can see, if is it males or females that are buying, mostly my products, what age are they usually? And that this helps you when it comes to optimizing your listing, right? Because let's say that it's usually women over 55 years old, right? So of course you would speak to them, or the things that speaks to them would actually be different from, a guy in their, teens, right? So that's the way we can leverage this information. We have Amazon attribution, which of course it's a very different, it's a complete course in itself. And I'm sure, Boba, you have talked about attribution in the past, or are planning at least to do like how Boba does, and he does like 5-hour tutorials
sometimes
on YouTube. Yeah. I've learned a lot from those. And so I think that I would encourage people to take a look into these reports, separate, 3 hours from your day, and be like, okay, let me see what is in here, right? Because it's sitting there and it's updated, and it's data that it's precise, because it comes from Amazon. So I think that I would encourage people to take a look at that and just continue doing product research, because who knows, right? Even if the products you're selling right now are doing well, this might be the ones that, do 10x, sales. So I would encourage people to take a look at brand analytics.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your ideas with us today. We have looking at things, and definitely it's a cool tool that we have these days. I think it's available for like 2 years, I think, brand analytics, something like that. And it's probably a game changer in the quality of information that we get. So pretty cool. And Helium 10 pulls it from there, adds it to the suite of tools, which is pretty useful suite of tools. Again, we'll have a free trial of Helium 10 for those who want to try, those who still don't have an account. Those who have an account or they need a discount, we're going to have discounts in that link in the description as well. The link will support Adriana's journey, and I think it's pretty cool. And Adriana, thank you for being a guest today with us, and I hope to see you in more videos. Pretty cool video today, very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you, Boba. English is not my first language, so I'm trying here.
You're doing well.
Spanish is my first language.
Of course.
Thank you.
We can even leave the link to your podcast with the I think it's over 55 episodes.
We just recorded number 50, so we're getting there. Right. We're getting there. And of course, I'm doing some videos in Spanish too. Personally, I'm doing in Spanish. And so, in Spanish is my native language, but we're here to keep company, in this journey.
Yes. I'll leave your YouTube as well. And I'll leave your Serious Sellers podcast. Serious Sellers podcast in Spanish. Español.
Uh-huh.
How do you say description in Spanish? Descripción or something like that?
This in the description. Yeah.
Really?
You did it well. Yeah.
Well, I'll do that. Thank you, Adriana. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye,
All
guys.
right.